Hello, this is Ed Rigsbee, and welcome to another edition of the Raw and Unedited Show. Hey, this is a place where we help association executives to do what they do better with tips, tactics, insight, all the good stuff to make your life better and to be able to serve your members better. So today we're going to talk about social media, and I'm kind of wondering, what are you thinking about? What's your biggest challenge in dealing with in between meetings and in between events, keeping your members engaged, keeping them involved, keeping them to want to belong to your association? And to answer that question, I have Corey Perlman, the author of, are we ready there? Social Media Overload. Oh my God, overload. And I've known Corey for quite a while. He's an amazing guy. He's got an amazing book. And I'm not necessarily here to sell you a book, but to give you some ideas on how you can use social media for your association or society. So Corey, let's kick off with the thing that's most on the mind of the association executives. How do they engage their members using social media during the rest of the year when there's not a meeting?
Good question, Ed. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your program here. Excited to be here, and hopefully we'll spend a few minutes together and give some value to your group, because I know that they've taken a moment out of their day to spend with us. So let's make it as valuable as possible for them. So I do a lot, as you do, a lot of meetings with associations and association executives. And one of the big questions that comes up all the time is, we get a lot of value during the meetings, but it's in between the meetings where we struggle a little bit. And so, I think that that's where social media can be a real big value add to member groups. And, the key there is figuring out what's valuable to your members and providing that on a consistent basis. So one of the things that I suggest, first of all, so starting here is, where are your members hanging out the most? Where are they? And we have to prioritize that, because oftentimes associations, whether you have volunteer members, whether you have paid executives running the membership groups, it's important to prioritize so you're not all over the place. So the first thing I would say is, where are your members spending the most time? Commonly, Ed, that would be Facebook and LinkedIn. Those would be the two platforms today in 2019, moving into 2020, where I would say most of the time executives, members, the general population, is spending the most time online, with Instagram probably being third. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, here's what I'm kind of thinking about. And we were at a conference together recently where you told a bunch of association executives that they didn't have to use Twitter, and it seemed like this round of applause came out. So that was kind of interesting. In your book, you talked about some platforms that have disappeared. And, the interesting thing is I have no clue what's coming next. And how do you help an association executive? They're sitting there going, okay, Corey, so you're telling me to prioritize. Well, which ones do I work on today? And are there any interesting things coming around, that I should be on? And in the prioritization, hey, Corey, I've only got so much time. So how do I do that? So give me a little bit of an idea of, what's gone that worked, what's coming, and how do people do the prioritization?
Yeah, you had asked me kind of in our pre-call here to think about some of the sites that I talked about that are no longer, a priority. A good example of that is Google+. And you mentioned that, and Clout was another one, and Periscope, and there's a lot of these different sites. And then, of course, nowadays, I'm sure you're hearing Snapchat all over the place. TikTok is something people are talking about. It's a great example, Ed, of reminding ourselves not to do the squirrel or the shiny new penny syndrome, challenge, where a new site comes up and all of a sudden it's like, we got to be there. Well, wait a second. Let's figure out where our members are, and how do we do that? Well, one is general demographics. So if your membership consists of a lot of executives, business owners, that type of thing. LinkedIn is probably going to be a really good platform for you. If your membership is 35 and under, Instagram is probably going to be, a platform for you. If your membership is dominated by women over the age of 50, Facebook is probably going to be the platform for you. So a demographic, assessment is going to be one way to do it. Another way is just the old-fashioned survey, Ed. Just either at one of your upcoming events or a Survey Monkey, something like that. Ask your membership, where are you spending time on social media these days? Rank the following platforms on the time that you spend on each site the most. And from there, you're going to get a very clear picture of where you guys should be focusing your energy. And I use the acronym PHIL, and it typically is Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Not always in that priority, again, based upon who your association is, but somewhere in that range, it usually falls within those three. Now, Ed, you had asked me the question about content. I don't want to make sure I don't skip over that question. It's a really hard problem for all associations, all businesses. It's our biggest challenge. How do we create compelling content that our members care about? That's another thing that I would recommend really thinking about asking your members about. How can we support you more between the meetings, and see what kind of answers you get back? Oftentimes it's offering resources for members to talk to members. So maybe your one of your posts between the meetings is offering an opportunity to ask questions that other members can answer. A common question we get a lot is blank. What are some of the members who are experts in this area? What could you share about that? And sharing some value there. Spotlighting members. Every time you turn the spotlight from us to them, that's always a nice thing to do, for the membership. Highlighting members, new members, that type of thing. Member testimonials, reminding others that might be watching the social media pages that are not members why being a valued member is so important. So letting members talk about why they love being a member so much. And then, advocacy issues. Bottom line is, what does membership care about? And create content around those areas. And so a lot of associations that I talk to, a big part of it is, legal information, advocacy, things that are happening, today that is meaningful to the industry. If you can be on top of that and making sure that that information is being shared on social, that's a huge value add day in and day out on social.
So that makes sense, Corey. So let's drill just a little bit deeper. So let's take LinkedIn and then go to Facebook and then anything else with my limited knowledge here. So LinkedIn, around the time Microsoft bought it, they pretty much devastated the capability of admins and groups to message. So what are some of your, you just mentioned highlighting a member and good content, but what are some of the let's go down into the weeds, the tips and tactics. If an association has a lot of their members on LinkedIn and they have a LinkedIn group, what are some of the tips and tactics that they can use to get that group engaged, to get that group, relevant? Because I think that people are finding that groups on LinkedIn aren't as relevant as they once were.
That's right. And you might not like this answer very much, but I would move them to Facebook. Honestly, Ed, you've seen it. I've seen it. We've seen it at NSA. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to tell your executives that are listening to this that, there's some sort of secret way to get groups more active on LinkedIn. I just don't see it. I just believe that you're going to get the bigger bang for your buck having groups on Facebook. So let me. Okay, so let's take that on face value. Don't argue it. Don't argue a bit. So now, if people, let's just say Association X, Association Y, or Association Z has had a group on LinkedIn, and maybe even they've kind of fuddled around and put a group on Facebook. So what would be your recommendation to migrate people from a LinkedIn group to a Facebook group
And then what would be your recommendation to better engage them on that Facebook group?
Okay. So a couple things here. One is just a bit of context prior to even going into the weeds on groups. I mentioned this at the last seminar that we were at together, Ed, that I believe this is a hugely undervalued strategy for associations. And that is a private community for members only that is active and that is curated by the association, but is often participated mostly on by group members. And what's so amazing about having a group like this is so many wins can happen inside the group, and it's because of the association, and you don't have to do a lot of work. You know, you and I might be a part of the National Speakers Association, using that as an example, and you may help me out, which you have. And I give the benefit both to you and to NSA. And that's the wonderful thing about having a community, is that every time I get a win, I give it back essentially to the association because of them. So that's why I think private groups on social media is probably one of the best things an association can do to provide value to their members.
Let me just interject there. In not necessarily a plug for my book, but my book, The ROI of Membership. You know, I really like what you said about member only, because this is a phenomenal topic. A lot of times I hear from association execs, well, I want to open up to everybody. Oh, if we get a group and we let everybody in, then maybe they'll join. And I've always said, no, make it a member only, make it a feature of membership, create benefit. So could you go just a smidge deeper in why you said make it a member only group? Because that will really help me as I'm trying to convince some of these association executives to make their organizations more member ROI centric.
Sure. The bottom line is people just they're so scared to share on social to begin with, right? So we have to get over that barrier. And then, of course, they're afraid that, they're going to give away secrets and, and this and that and that. So when you've convinced, and there's a part of convincing here that you have to do, and educate really is probably a better word, that this is indeed a private group, that we manage this very carefully, that, we have a CSP group in NSA, Certified Speaking Professionals. And you really don't get in this group unless you get a CSP, and they watch you. And the moment you get a CSP, you get an invite. I mean, it is as crystal clear. And I know for a fact that there's no one in there that's not a CSP. And that just, that makes me feel comfortable sharing a level of what I'm willing to share on social that I certainly wouldn't be willing to do outside of that. So I would say, Ed, that would be the biggest benefit to having a truly private group, is you're going to get secrets, you're going to get truths, you're going to get sincerity, you're going to get real responses, because people know that they are part of a secret club. Now, going back real quick, Ed, to your question about LinkedIn versus Facebook, the reason I choose Facebook is just simply by testing over the years. I've been doing this a long time. And most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, we get more engagement on Facebook groups than we do LinkedIn groups. That's an obvious why, in my opinion, because people are just more actively social on Facebook. They go to LinkedIn for a purpose, to look for a job, to connect with individuals, to prospect, not necessarily to hang out and to engage in dialogue as much. Now, if there's someone listening right now who says, look, guys, I love what you're saying, but LinkedIn's my place. Let me give them a couple of quick things that they might be able to spur some more conversation on LinkedIn. I often talk about when you're trying to get engagement in the beginning, you have to pre-populate that. You have to artificially create it. What I mean by that is, Ed, if you and I started a group today, the Association of Awesome Human Beings, let's say, and it was me, you, and 10 of our friends, it's going to start super slow. It's like pushing a huge boulder up the hill. So if you go out there and you say, okay, I'm going to put a question out there, what are the biggest ROI things that you're doing for 2019? You would probably send a quick note over to me, hey, Corey, would you go in there and get the conversation going a little bit? I'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. That needs to happen in the beginning of groups. Artificially get things going by asking members to comment. So that would be one thing I would definitely do, whether you're doing a group on LinkedIn or on Facebook, is to don't be afraid to populate some quality comments or questions from members to get conversation going.
Excellent. Corey, I want to transition in just a minute into your ideas on how association execs can better use LinkedIn for themselves. But before I go there, I want to stay just for a minute more on the discussion of helping the association itself. We didn't really talk much about Snapchat and Instagram. And because I'm a baby boomer, apparently I'm ignorant with just how these work and how effective they are, and associations, how they can use it. Because here's kind of the thing. There's a lot of associations out there that have got a bunch of baby boomers, but also they're smart enough to be trying to get a bunch of millennials to join. And so, what should these, we'll just call them mature associations, be doing, with some of the platforms that are more attractive to millennials to add to their mix? What would be your recommendations, specifically with Snapchat and Instagram?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can eliminate one of them right now, and that would be Snapchat. And the reason that is look, we have to kind of draw a line somewhere, right? And so Snapchat is dominated by age 26 and below. And the primary population on there is young people, teenagers, kind of things of that nature. So if you're putting energy and time there, you got kind of a long time to wait, most likely, for them to be a potential member. Whereas Instagram is more, like you said, millennials and even upward, say 40 and below. And that's even trending more upward. And the other reason I like Instagram is that it's sister and brother to Facebook, owned by the same company. And so I think it's got legs for a long time. I think that when Facebook comes out with a new feature, it's easy for Instagram to implement that as well. And so I think if you and I are talking 10 years from now, I write another book and you're like, hey, Corey, cloud's gone, I think Instagram will be here. I mean, that's going to be my, Snapchat probably will, but I can't say that with as much certainty as I can Instagram. So this is what I would say to associations thinking about these three platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. And like you said, that's really for member to member contacts and connections, executive to executive. So that we'll talk about that. Facebook, I mentioned, a huge advantage would be that private Facebook community. Instagram, I think, a great platform for culture and behind the scenes, and really giving off a sort of an inside look to what your community, your membership is all about through imagery and video. That's really what Instagram would be all about. So Instagram would shoot to the forefront when an event is going on, because there's opportunities to do an Instagram story, to shoot a quick Instagram live, to do some behind the scenes. There's a lot of engaging photos where you might think to yourself, Ed, gosh, on a Tuesday in the middle of a time when there's no meetings going on, what kind of imagery would work really well on Instagram? Yes, you could post things, but probably not as easily and effectively as when a event is coming up. So I think Instagram's a great place for culture and community, for event promotion, event engagement, all kinds of things like that, where it would really come to the forefront for members.
Got it. Now, let's talk about, I think in some regards, the stepchild, Twitter. I'm not a massive fan of Twitter. I've been on Twitter for a long time, but don't use it much. If an association wants to use it, I get it at their meeting, having Twitter feeds and stuff is kind of fun. But, if an association does want to use it, even though you said that if they don't, it's fine, there's no reason that they have to. But if they do use it, mixing Twitter in with the other platforms, how would you say an association can most effectively use Twitter and get the most bang for their time buck with Twitter?
It's still, to me, the best tool for event engagement for members. And until that goes away, or until Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn finds a way to overtake it, it's still going to be useful to associations and memberships. And I hate to bring a fourth one in, but it just is what it is. And I always use the example again of the National Speakers Association, where Twitter becomes my fourth favorite site for 362 days out of the year. But for 3 days, it's my favorite site. It's my favorite social media platform, and that's during Influence, our national convention. And that's because we all jump on there, and it's the way that we stay in touch with each other throughout the conference. And so we as associations have to know that that happens with our members. And if we ignore it, then we're ignoring an opportunity that our members are going to use to connect with each other. So what should they do? Well, because we know that members are most likely going to engage with each other at the events, before the event, we start talking about it. Hey, here's the hashtag. Have what we call an event or anchor hashtag for the event and be using it all the time. Hashtag for us, it would be Influence 2019 or Influence 19. And so even if you and I, Ed, are not connected on Twitter, but I use the hashtag Influence 19, I can see what you wrote and you can see what I wrote. And so if I'm sitting in the bar on a Thursday evening and I'm like, hey, NSA, I'm chilling in the bar and would love to network. If anyone else would like to join me, hashtag Influence 19, all of a sudden people can see that whether we're connected or not. And that is how people use Twitter during events. So we as the association can help that by promoting the hashtag, by reminding people that we're using Twitter, as an event social media tool, and that we're answering questions. Here's another thing, Ed, that happens all the time. If the association is not active, they miss critical conversation. And we've seen this happen at Influence. Hey, the doors are locked and I'm trying to get into a room and it's 8:15 on Twitter. The association comes back, hey, so sorry, we're sending somebody over there right away. Wow, what a cool experience. What a cool opportunity for you to be able to help out a member. And that all happened through Twitter. I'm telling you right now, the platform that people will most likely still go to at events for things like that is Twitter. So you need to be active on it during events.
Gotcha. Well, Corey, let's face it, you've got to know this stuff because last year you were the co-chair of Influence. So you were right in the middle of it, and you probably understand better than many of the people that come on this show what the association executives and meeting planners are going through to make their event happen because you just got done doing it. Right. No, I get it. So on another level, what I'm kind of hearing here from you is, hey, Ed, at Influence, you need to be doing a lot more tweets about the Cigar Peg events.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'll admit, I do how much? 0. So maybe I'll work on that.
You have a great community, Ed, and that's the nice thing about having such a strong community is you have a lot of other people who do it for you.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll put you in charge of that from now. So, in your book, in section 3, you talk about build credibility. And, I would like to transition here from, how we help the association do a better job to the association executive, him or herself.
Okay.
In the association world, I get LinkedIn messages frequently from association execs. Hey, Ed, confidentially, I'm looking for another job or I'm looking to move. And there are some association CEOs, executive directors that stay for 10, 20, 30 years. And there's some that move every 3 or 4 years. So just talking to the association exec, him or herself, let's talk about how they can use LinkedIn to build their profile that, whether they're looking for another job, that who knows, maybe other associations will find them and offer them a, $30,000 or $40,000 a year raise to move from association A to association B. So what are your thoughts with, maybe you might want to start with the LinkedIn profile and
absolutely. And to your point, it doesn't matter whether or not you're actively, job seeking or not. As an association executive, I'd say probably your top priority for a personal profile is your LinkedIn page. So you're spot on that, Ed. And the good news is it's win-win. If you're not looking for a job, there's still benefits to it. But if that comes down the pike, you already have a modified professional looking LinkedIn profile, which will certainly help you. So I'm completely in agreement on having a a really good LinkedIn profile. So let me give you a few things on that. First of all, you have two photo sections on LinkedIn. You've got your professional headshot, and then you've got your timeline photo behind you. The professional headshot, pretty easy, current, nice looking photo. I'm sure most people have that down. If not, get it down. The timeline photo behind you, the big kind of guy behind you there, there's definitely some opportunity there. If you're an association executive, there's opportunity for when prospective members or partners or vendors, or whomever is checking your site, your LinkedIn out, that visually they can see what you're all about. Maybe it's a giant photo of your entire membership. Maybe it was made, on Fiverr or Upwork, one of these third-party sites for you, where it has membership benefits and it has, some contact information over here next to your head. So there's some ways to really use that to your advantage, and it certainly is not a good idea to have nothing back there. So either just a authentic picture of your entire association all waving their hands would be very cool, or something that's made for you. Moving down the line a little bit, there's your professional summary right below your picture. And there, I recommend it. This is the common mistake I see, Ed. A lot of people start with, my name is Corey, and 25 years ago, I started in this, and I did this, and da-da-da-da. Your professional summary should really be a benefit-rich summary about how your association helps its members. That's what I would do if you're an association executive. So that professional summary, as quickly as you possibly can, should have bullets of reasons why you should be a member of our association. We help members do the following. Bam, 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 bam. Because people don't read paragraphs, they read bullets. They scan bullets. So that's what I want your professional summary to do. It also has some multimedia capabilities on your professional summary. You can put video on there. So if you have any cool sizzle reel of your association, if you've got a testimonial of a member, you can add that to your professional summary. Someone can click on it. Wow, what a huge credibility booster for your association. And then last but not least, quality recommendations. So a takeaway that I would give association execs that are listening to this, get 3 to 5 quality members to write recommendations about how your association serves them, why they thank their lucky stars that they are an active member. That's what you want prospective members to be reading when they're visiting your LinkedIn profile. And you don't want them reading, hey, Steve's a great guy, he picks great lunch spots, he's got a great attitude. That doesn't do you any good. You want people sharing rich summaries of why they love being a member.
Let me, Corey, let me ask you a question. What you just explained to me is how the association exec can use their LinkedIn profile to further their association. Is there a way to mitigate doing that and furthering their career as they're looking to move forward at the same time, or are they mutually exclusive?
Mm-hmm. Good question, Ed. That's a very interesting question. I think that there's a way to blend it that doesn't make it look like you're doing two things at once. So a good professional headshot, for example, with a good timeline photo, sharing all of your experience, your association experience, that's important whether or not you're a current executive or you're looking for other opportunities. Quality recommendations from the people that love you and support you and love your membership will help if other associations are looking at you. So I think all of those are not mutually exclusive, that they can come together. If you all of a sudden find yourself out of an association job and you're really head down looking for a new career opportunity, then there are definitely some things that I would change on there, make it very clear that you are actively pursuing opportunities. But I do always say, Ed, and I'll say this, if you are currently employed somewhere, that's your primary focus, and your LinkedIn should show that.
Got it. So let me move this into just a little bit of promotion for Corey Perlman, because I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your insight. And I've seen you present at association meetings, so I know that you deliver a great amount of value, especially to not only to members, but to the association executives themselves. So when you wrote The Social Media Overload, what was your strategy? What was your goal? What were you trying to do with this? I mean, sure, we're all consultants. We use books to sell our services. But what was the strategy as far as, how was this going to help association executives to do a better job?
I always feel like you don't write a book until you have a problem to solve. And so when I was out speaking, I was hearing a lot from my audience members that they were overwhelmed, and they still are. You just mentioned, I mean, you and I could literally go through 12 digital assets that people have to figure out or manage, whether they be social media sites, whether they be blogs, websites, podcasts. There's just so much out there. So the reason I wrote that book was to really try to help people figure out a few places to be and to do them really well. And so I would say that, my kind of claim to fame, if you will, is to try to simplify things as much as I can. I'm a simple guy. I went to Florida State. I'm not a PhD or, super smart, savvy guy. I just try to do things that make sense for our business and for, our members and associations that we work with. And so, best practices around the sites that deliver a result. And that's the other thing that I would think about for associations as we kind of sort of, I guess, wrap this up a little bit is, what are they looking to accomplish? Is it top of mind? Is it new members? Is it more engagement or higher value with our membership? Tying those goals to activities on social is very, very critical because they require different things. If you're recruiting new members, you're going to do something different than if you're trying to actively engage your members more, right? So you need to prioritize whatever your goals and objectives are for your association, and then decide where you're going to spend your time and your strategies. One thing I do want to mention, just in case this doesn't come up, and I think it's super important, Ed, and I do talk about this in the book, is making sure that you have a consistent engagement strategy. So this is one thing that comes up a lot. Engagement goes both ways, Ed, and you know this. What association executives should do beyond just thinking about great content to produce is how they can engage with their members more on social. So you should have a strategy as an association to make sure that you are participating in your members' social media as well. So when you go to LinkedIn, navigate their feeds, like their stuff, comment on their posts, go to Facebook, share their stuff, make sure that you're connected with your membership, highlight them on social, tell your other members to connect with them. But we are all struggling so much to get eyeballs and attention on social media. And as an association, you guys can help each other by communicating and starting that conversation on social. So just remember that engagement goes both ways. And a big part of what your job is as an executive is to go out and engage with other people's content as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, something, really good point. I mean, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about myself. I don't do that enough. I do a lot of liking on LinkedIn, but I don't do as much posting or commenting on posts as I could or should. And I know that just recently, it was pointed out that I've got like 75 recommendations on LinkedIn, and I've only given 10. So I guess I'm a little out of balance. Apparently I'm a taker and not a giver, as somebody pointed out to me the other day. Hey, I didn't know until recently that you had a social media marketing company. I didn't realize that. And why this is raw and unedited, this isn't something that we talked about. But do you do social media for associations or just corporations or businesses or, your social media marketing company? What is it and who are your customers? Just in case an association exec says, oh man, I can't do this. I just got to get somebody else to do this for me.
Yeah. We do actually work with a few associations. Most of our business is the end, I would say the association member, like, you know, a roofing company or chiropractic company or a dentist's office. But that being said, we do have 2 clients that are associations that we do all their social media for. We do their email marketing for their events and such. So yeah, I mean, my team, their specialty is creating quality content. And we can do that for both companies as well as associations. So I appreciate you asking that. And we've had the agency for almost 10 years now, learned a lot. We've got a great group of people that love their jobs and love creating amazing content for our clients. One other thing real quick, Ed, that I did want to just mention too, we've talked about a lot of things that people have to do. The one thing about associations that's so cool and it's different than like companies and such is you've just got an array of experts full of great content. So I want to just remind everybody, if they're still watching and they're just like, man, I got a lot of, you know, to-dos and all this, take advantage of your members. Get them. Say, hey, Stephanie, I notice you post a lot on social and, you know, a lot of good blog content and stuff in our industry. You know, we'd love to highlight that as part of our association. That's good content for our members. It's good content for other people out there. And it's a win for Stephanie. So when you're thinking about, gosh, so we have so much content we have to kind of create, you know, let me use us as an example, the National Speakers Association. You know, they serve speakers. Speakers have great content to deliver to, in some ways, other speakers. So we can utilize our content, or NSA can, as that example. So if you're struggling over finding content, utilize your members. A lot of them are experts and would love to take advantage of creating content for your membership. So
I guess the point is that they can't see the forest for the trees sometimes.
Absolutely.
We forget, familiarity breeds contempt. And so we're so familiar with our members, we forget that they know more about plumbing or dentistry or chiropractic, whatever, than anybody does.
Exactly.
Good point. Yeah. Hey guys,
Yep.
That's a real keeper right there. So Corey, if somebody wants to buy your book, where do they get
your book?
Go to
Amazon is fine on that. They can go there. And then my website is impactsocialmedia.com, impactsocialmedia.com for the agency side. And then CoreyPerlman.com, CoreyPerlman.com. You can probably put that in the notes there to take you just more to the speaking side of our business.
Okay, so if somebody wants to hire you as a speaker, it's CoreyPerlman.com. If somebody is looking for help with using your agency for their social media, it's, one more time?
ImpactSocialMedia.com.
ImpactSocialMedia.com. Corey, you got a parting shot? That's something that I forgot to ask you?
Always a good question to end with, and always a difficult question for a guest to answer. But let me see if I got one for you. Let me think about it here for a second. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about can be taken care of at events. So don't forget to be super engaged on social during your events. That's when all the energy is created. That's when everybody's there. We like to, at our NSA chapter, we like to make everybody jealous that they're not with us that day. And that should be your goal every time you have an event, is make all the outside people, either the members that didn't come or prospective members that aren't there. If you're not here enjoying this speaker back here and these partners of ours all around here and all of this networking, you're crazy, kind of stuff. I think that that's important and often missed by associations.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Lost opportunity, because there is so much opportunity.
Really?
And the FOMO, fear of missing out. I mean, we might as well play on people's fear of loss buying motive to where they'll think next year when the registration comes that they should sign up. So let me ask you this: so should and I know how I feel about this, but I think I'll ask you. If an association is doing a really good job of creating buzz and doing a lot of social media and telling people that, oh my God, you should be here. Now, would it also be smart for that association the last day or of the association or during the conference to be selling next year's conference and getting like a super killer deal on next year's conference, get the money out of your members today for next year's conference? What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think that there's probably never a better engaged moment with your members than the last day of the whatever event you're doing. So whenever and you're the guru to this, I want to play a plug to you too. I've learned so much from you, Ed, and I'm actually going to mention one thing that I learned from you in the social world, just to show people how smart you are just for associations in general. But the answer to your question is yes, I think that's a great idea. And the other thing we forgot to mention that you gave me as a tip was if you get a very engaged community on social, there's some sponsorship opportunities for non-dues revenue opportunities. And you actually mentioned that to me. I'll give you a plug there. I thought that was a great tip that I offered during that presentation that you saw. So if you get this membership private group on Facebook that's super engaged and there's a couple hundred members or 50 or whatever the number is, and everybody's talking on there, you may have a sponsor that wants to promote something for the membership that they can, write you a check for your membership and then offer something within that group, a special discount or something like that. What a great way for members to get an exclusive deal. What a great way for the sponsorship to get more, leads, and what a great way for you to get more revenue for your business or for your association. So great point by you, Ed. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Taking that a step further, when you think about it, if any time an association can offer to their members some special deal that the outsiders don't get, and sure, if they do that on their social media, let's just say on a Facebook group, you think about it. Associations are today so relying on non-dues revenue. I mean, much more so than 30, 40 years ago. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, it was 5, 10% non-dues revenue. Today, it's 40, 50% non-dues revenue. And yeah, these groups can be almost like a gold mine, almost an opportunity for for printing money in the respect that, you get these people engaged and then you pop something on that. Some sponsors would probably pay some pretty good money.
Because the bottom line, Ed, is if in other areas on social, people aren't engaged. Yeah. If you're on a Facebook business page or even like a personal, or whatever, I mean, you can't really even call that barely engagement. But in these groups, I don't see any engagement that's higher than a private group. So just keep that in mind for you membership folks out there. If you can get one going and it's super active, it's a powerful, powerful asset.
As our friend Joel Block would say, drawing the line directly to the money.
That's right.
Hey, Corey, this has been awesome. One more time, give everybody the way to get a hold of you. Do you allow people to call you on the telephone?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's give the telephone number.
Sure. My cell phone is 248-388-9788, 248-388-9788. Happy to take a call from anybody who has any questions or whatever. And then my email, which is also good, is Corey, Corey, @impactsocialmedia.com.
And for your agency, it's impactsocialmedia.com. For your speaking business, it's CoreyPerlman.com.
Got it, my friend. You got it.
Awesome. Corey, thanks a million. I appreciate you coming on, and I really think that the association executives that watch this to the end are going to get a huge amount of value.
Agreed. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me, buddy.